Welcome to Let's Make Cake. I'm your host, Michelle Pyle. We are here to kick depression and anxiety and make a new life. That is something I did, so I want to help you guys do the same. So today I'm going to actually just have kind of a casual thoughts on something I read recently. So it's the intro to a book. So I've only read the sample of the book. I haven't read the whole book yet, but there was such good stuff just in the sample that I wanted to talk about it. So I just have some screenshots. So I'm just going to go through and share my thoughts and share the quotes from the book. So the book is Against Therapy: Emotional Tyranny and the Myth of Psychological Healing, which is, I actually believe in therapy, but I do read books and listen to things that I don't agree with. I do it all the time. I would recommend you do the same. It helps both your temperament so you can learn to hear things you disagree with without getting upset, which is, I think, is super important skill to develop. And also you can learn things. So you'll see just from this sample that I read of the intro of the book that there's really good stuff in here. So I am excited to read the book. Again, I believe in therapy, so I'm not against therapy. But I still think it's important to just take in information wherever we can, especially when we're trying to get better. So yeah, I'm just going to go through a couple screenshots here and just talk about what it says and how I think it's interesting to our sort of process we're in of getting over depression. So the first one here, let's make sure. Yeah, okay. So this first quote I have is: "How difficult we all find it to gaze upon life's implacable tragedies with a steady and courageous eye and to tolerate our own helplessness." I love this because I do think it's important that we just recognize and accept that life we will experience tragedy, right? Whether it's in childhood or adulthood or both. And sometimes we're helpless to that tragedy. And it's important to just be like, yeah. And it's difficult to face. And this is part of the human experience. And I just like how this is just well said, I feel like. And I think it's good to remember this, even in the midst of depression. So the second part here: "We do not wish to admit that no degree of goodness or cleverness or hard work, no mind-altering drug, no brilliant therapeutic intervention can save us from loss, disappointment, and death, nor recompense us for the humiliations and pain in childhood." That's a tough thing to face. But I do think it's important. There are going to be some things in life, loss, disappointment, and death, or childhood experiences, that there's nothing that can change it or make it better. It's just a part of life that happens, not to everybody, but to a lot of us. And facing that courageously and just kind of understanding this human experience is complicated, is difficult, is important. That's an important part of this process, right? I think sometimes we think therapy is a magic wand that can make everything better and make everything bad go away that ever happened to us. And therapy does help face it and help us face it and helps us process our feelings around it. But it's still there. It doesn't magically go away, right? The bad things that have happened to us. And I just think it's important to acknowledge that. And I like how this is said. It is hard to not chase, right? To not chase the mind-altering drug or the brilliant therapeutic intervention that's going to magically make everything bad good. And I think it's important to temper expectations around therapy and medication and things like that, because there are things in life that are hard, that are really hard. Hard is an understatement, probably. Yeah. And I think that's really well put. I just like how this is going so far in this book. And yeah, there's no recompense for the humiliations and pain in childhood. Like, I love that. I just think that's, I think sometimes we think we're supposed to get over like bad things that happen to us. And I think instead we need to look at it as we have to find how do we live with it? Right? How do we make a life that feels good despite loss, death, disappointment, and humiliations? And I think that's really well said in this book. So I love that so far. Okay, so the next one is from my little screenshot here. Psychological distress occurs for reasons which make it incurable by therapy, but which are certainly not beyond the powers of human beings to influence. We suffer pain because we do damage to each other. To alleviate and mitigate distress is for us to take care of the world and other people in it, not to treat them. So I really like this because, yeah, we do damage to one another. I think it's good to just say that instead of we dance around it sometimes. But yeah, like we have been damaged by other people. That happens. We maybe ourselves have damaged other people. And the way around it is to take care of the world and the people in it, not to treat them. And I love that too, because it is saying, I love this because it's saying we hurt each other and we damage each other, but the cure is also in those same human relationships that we have to take care of each other. And I also like how it says we have to take care of one another, not treat one another. I think often, especially if you experience depression, you can feel like some people look at you or treat you like a patient, right? And it's like, I actually just need people to help take care of me, right? To get out of this. And so I like how I think that's really well said. Let's see. Sorry here. Okay. The next one is we need to use whatever power we have to increase the power of others, to take care rather than treat. There's that same phrase again. To enlighten rather than mystify, to love rather than exploit. I just think this is so important too, is like, it is just describing like how as humans we have to come together and help each other. And the cure is not always going to be in the therapist's office or the prescription drug, right? It's in these human relationships where we have to empower those around us and help take care of them and demystify life, right? And help them understand paths that are available. And yeah, I like the humanness so far in the sample of this book, and just the importance of staying connected to that. And I do think that that can be one of the kind of dangers of therapy, is it can be seen as sort of a replacement for that. And it's just not. Therapy is just one of the tools. But what we have to make, right, is a life where we're surrounded by people, where we're taking care of one another. And if you don't have that, like no amount of therapy or medication is going to make you better. Those are tools to help lift the depression, but you do have to make that life where you're surrounded by people who want to uplift you and empower you and take care of you. They're not trying to manipulate you. They're not, using their power against you. And that's really important. We have to create that world for ourselves where we're surrounded by good people and we're taking care of one another. I just think the humanness can get lost in this conversation about overcoming depression and anxiety. So I really like how this book lays it out. Excuse me, let me get back to, okay, so the next slide. Okay, so the rejection of that sense of intrinsic badness and unacceptability, which was instilled in us when, as children, we were in the power of our parents and teachers. Losing the sense of intrinsic badness is something we can do. We have to value and accept our own self. And I don't know that we talk about this enough, but some of us have, depending on how your childhood went, right? You could have this feeling of just this intrinsic badness, right? There's something bad about me, or there's something wrong with me, or somehow I'm not good. And it's kind of deep, right? It might not be at the surface, but you might feel it once in certain moments, or you might have a sense in how you're interacting with the world that you kind of carry around this sense of just, I'm not a good person. And how important it is to reject that and to shed that, and that we have to value and accept ourselves. And it is important. And so this is where I think therapy is super important. Any events that occurred in childhood that led you to those feelings, unearthing those and talking about them is so, so important, right? It's probably the first step to getting rid of that sense of badness. Because that if you're walking around with that sense, you're going to interact with the world differently, and you're going to interact with people differently. And you may hurt other people. You may let other people hurt you. You may avoid relationships, right? It just creates all kinds of bad, negative stuff. Whereas if you can address that sense of badness that you developed in childhood and start to reject it and start to value and accept yourself and see, like, I am this valuable part of these relationships and the world, right? That's huge. It's kind of interesting. It's in this book Against Therapy, because I do think therapy is going to help tremendously with that. When you can tell a neutral party, like, here are some crappy things that happened in childhood that I think I might be carrying around these kind of bad feelings about myself, and they're going to help you process that. And that is like the first step to getting rid of those negative feelings about yourself that can't be explained except for those things in your childhood. And so this is a really important work to do. But I do like how they describe it, this sense of badness that was instilled in you somehow, right? And you want to go through those events that took place. Anything, there's severe stuff like abuse, and then there's other things where, like, you could have just had a teacher who didn't like you. And, like, when you're a kid and that happens, and you can't explain, like, why does this teacher not like me? It's actually super impactful, because then you start to, because you're developing, right, your whole sense of the world and relationships, and, like, am I good? Am I bad? Like, what behaviors, what this, what that. And so those things are important, and they're important to talk about, and they're important to, start to reject. Like, I am a good person, and I do value and accept myself. So I just love this. I think that's such an important part of this whole process of getting better. So let's keep going here. So being loving and kind and helpful and all of those things that we call good give us pleasure. And that is 100% true. When we accept and value our own self, we cease to be afraid of other people. We no longer have superiors and inferiors, but equals whom we can cooperate and share while we take responsibility for ourselves. He who knows that enough is enough always has enough. Because we value ourselves, we value others now and to come. We reject those who seek to dominate and manipulate us, etc., etc., etc. I just think this is so good too, because when we value and accept ourselves and know, like, I'm enough, we will show up so much better in relationships. Like, a lot of times I think you might feel rejected by somebody and not realize that person doesn't see their value in your life. And, like, that's crazy, right? But that could be what's happening. So if I don't see myself as valuable, I'm not going to pursue relationships with people, because what value could I bring to their life? So it is just so important to do this work of learning how to value and accept ourselves, because it will alter how we engage in our lives and in our relationships. And I also like this beginning that being loving and kind and helpful and those things we call good give us pleasure. It does, and that's a good thing, right? Like we all, we need, as a society, we have to do this work, but that's going to start with ourselves and then in our family group and our friend group and our community group. And we all have to do a better job of this. Like first we have to value and accept ourselves. Then we take care of each other, right? And now we're loving one another and taking care of one another. And from that, we can create much more positive lives, right? So this is all good stuff. And then this last one here is, I like this too. This is just kind of interesting, I think. Unaware of how the advent of a bright, enthusiastic, cheerful young man or woman in the life of a sad and lonely person is likely to make that person feel much better. We underestimate the power of positive people, that we need them in our lives. And especially if we're going through depression, right? I cannot tell you how positive, joyful people have helped me when I have been depressed. And I don't know that we fully appreciate the value of this, right? Because we're always like, if someone is depressed, I don't know how to help them, right? So go to therapy or let these professionals take care of you. Yeah, they have their role, but a huge role is just having people around you who are loving life and they want to share that with you and bring you in and show you here is how to enjoy life and to be full of life, right? And just the power of that is huge. I have had moments in my life where I've been really depressed, and really good people who weren't afraid of my depression shared their lives with me and shared their joy and their enthusiasm for life. And that is what helps lift me out of that depression. And I just think a lot of people are scared to help because they don't know how. And it's like, we've just forgotten, I think sometimes, that we're meant to be in each other's lives and we're meant to enjoy life and we're meant to take care of each other and help each other and love one another and empower one another and lift one another up. And so I think, when we're overcoming this depression and anxiety, we're going to learn lots of tools and habits, and we're going to use therapy and maybe medication, and all of that stuff is going to help us get better. But what we have to do is make a life where we are surrounded by people who are full of life and enjoying life and cheerful and joyful and want to take care of you, and you take care of them, and we're building this thing that feels good. I don't know. I don't think we talk about this enough. We talk a lot about, we have become kind of a materialistic society and everyone's busy and, we see it on the internet. We see it in our families. We all know what's happening. It's not great. We have to get back to some of the fundamentals, which are our relationships and how we uplift one another and take care of one another and are there for one another. And that creating a positive environment is going to be so powerful in helping you not only overcome depression, but stay out of it, right? I want you to get better and walk away from depression forever. Like, I don't want this to be something that we have to live with or struggle with. And part of that is going to require building relationships around you that are uplifting and feel good and are full of life. And I think that's one reason I like this book, and possibly this Against Therapy. So far, the foreword, it's talking about very human stuff and the importance of relationships and the importance of taking care of one another and building a society that functions that way as well. And yeah, So I just think this is good stuff. And I hope you do too. I just think I love reading and I love learning and just, especially as you're coming out of depression, right? You're learning new things about like, oh gosh, maybe my relationships are part of the problem of my, this mystery of depression. And, how can I improve those and make them better? And so, yeah, I just thought these were really good quotes, just there are tragedies in life, and it's difficult to tolerate our own helplessness. Facing, the humiliation and pain that occurred in childhood is hard, right? Like this stuff is so real and so important. We suffer pain because we do damage to each other. We have to mitigate the distress by taking care of one another, not treating people, but taking care of people. We need to use whatever power we have to increase the power of others, to take care, to enlighten, to love. We have to reject the sense of intrinsic badness that might have been instilled in us in our childhood. We have to lose that sense of badness. We have to value and accept our own self. We have to be loving and kind and helpful. We have to accept and value and our own self, and then we will cease to be afraid of other people. We no longer have superiors and inferiors, but equals. He who knows that enough is enough always has enough. Because we value ourselves, we value others now and to come. We reject those who seek to dominate and manipulate us. And how the advent of a bright, enthusiastic, cheerful person in the life of a sad and lonely person is likely to make that person feel much better. Just love those pages of this book. So I will let you know when I do finally read the book. I'll definitely talk about it on another video. And upcoming videos, I will talk about books I have read, because I just think there's so much good information out there. And it might be a good intro to you, to inspire you to read the book as well. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. You can find more on letsmakecake.org, and have a great day. Okay, thanks guys, bye.